Alright, this is number 4. And I'm actually going to switch stuff up on here. So, we have sine squared, cosine, and then equals sine squared minus sine to the 4th times cosine. Here's the deal. I always say choose a side that's more complicated. Start there. On this one, I would argue that the right side is more complicated. So to show you I can actually start on the right side, I'm going to start with the right side. So you get sine squared x minus sine to the 4th x times cosine of x. Again, I can't touch this side, but this is what I want to get to. So I'm going to play around a little bit with this. I already have my cosine, so that's good. Here I have a sine squared x and a sine to the 4th x. I notice right away that both of them have a sine squared in it, so I'm going to go ahead and factor out a sine squared. When I factor out that sine squared, I'd be left with 1 minus sine to the 4th. If I take out a sine squared, I'd be left with sine squared. And then I have cosine of x. So I'm already halfway there. I got my sine squared that I need, and I got my cosine that I need. And again, all I did was started with this side. So then, I know the only thing I still need is I need this to be cosine squared. Oh, well, what is 1 minus sine squared? Well, let's think of our identities. Our main one is sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. Well, I have 1 minus sine squared. Well, hey, if you minus sine squared, 1 minus sine squared would be equal to cosine squared. So I can replace all of this with cosine squared. And then I have sine squared x, cosine squared x, cosine of x. Hey, that's what I wanted. Proof is done. So that's just a way to show you, hey, we can, sometimes starting on the right side is easier. Now, for those of you who truly only like to do the left side, I will show you how you could do the left side. You don't have to watch this if you don't want to. You could say, oh, I get it, start from the side that's more complicated. But if you wanted, we could start with this side. Well, we know we're going to want a cosine, so I'm going to just split these and look here. Okay? Well, first off, I wanted sines involved. So I'm going to rewrite cosine in terms of sine. So cosine squared is equal to 1 minus sine squared. But then I still have to times that by sine squared of x. So all I did was rewrite cosine squared to get it in terms of sine. And then I have cosine of x here. Then I'd have to distribute this. That's the only thing I have left. So then I get sine squared x. Sine squared times negative sine squared is negative sine to the 4th x. And then times cosine of x. Hey, that's where I wanted it. Proof done. I think this one's a little bit harder to see because you have to see, oh, I want that cosine on the end. So then I'm going to group stuff and then factor stuff out and rewrite stuff, but you can go both ways. And in this case, they're both pretty short, pretty similar. I do think this way was easier to see, whereas this one was a little bit more, you had to be creative and think, okay, I want this to be sine squared, so I'm going to replace it with cosine squared with 1 minus sine squared. But I just wanted to show you can do it from left or right. Both of these would be considered 100% correct. You do need to show all your steps, but that's how you do number 4.